The stars were silent now. Once, the space around Earth had been full of voices, laughter, songs, and radio chatter from 1,000 ships. Now there was only static, a cold, empty whisper that spoke of loss and fire. Commander Ilara Voss sat alone in the dark command bridge of the Eidolon, the last human battleship still flying. Her face was pale in the glow of dying screens. Around her, the crew worked quietly, their movements slow and tired. The war had lasted only 6 months, but it felt like a lifetime. The enemy had come from the edge of known space, the Corin Dominion, tall, silver-skinned creatures with voices like thunder. They destroyed Earth's defense grid in 2 days. They called it a lesson in power. Ilara still remembered their message. Every human heard it before the satellites went silent. Your species is defeated. Your homeworld burns. Surrender, and we may let you live as slaves. No one answered that broadcast. There was nothing left to say. Now, deep in the cold shadows of Jupiter's orbit, Ilara waited for something, anything, from Earth Command. The ship's communication officer looked up from her console. "Commander," she said quietly, "we have a signal. It's weak, but it's from Earth." The bridge fell silent. Ilara stood and stepped closer. The message came through as a cracked, broken voice, almost lost in static. "This is Earth Command. Final transmission. All major cities destroyed. Do not, I repeat, do not surrender. Humanity endures. Activate Project Phoenix." Then nothing. The voice was gone. The crew stared at Ilara. Some were crying. Some just stared at their screens. Ilara closed her eyes. That last line echoed in her mind. "Do not surrender." She whispered the words to herself as if to make them real. "No, we won't," she said. "Not today." She turned toward her officers. "Get me the tactical board, now." The ship came alive again. Screens flickered, systems reconnected, and soft hums filled the air. The Eidolon had taken heavy damage in the last battle above Titan, but its heart still beat. On the map, only a few human ships were left, 7, maybe 8, scattered across the solar system. All others were gone. "Where are the survivors?" Ilara asked. "Unknown," the officer replied. "We've lost contact with the Vanguard, the Horizon, and the Martian base." Ilara looked at the void ahead. She knew what that meant. They were alone. "Commander," said Lieutenant Mora, "what is Project Phoenix? I've seen the name in old archives, but there's no data." Ilara's lips tightened. "It was meant for the end of everything," she said. "A last light if we ever fell." She paused, then gave the order. "Set course for Europa." Full burn. The crew exchanged nervous looks. Europa, one of Jupiter's frozen moons. There was nothing there. Or so everyone thought. As the engines roared to life, the stars shifted outside the windows. The Eidolon turned toward the icy world, leaving the graveyard of Earth's orbit behind. Hours passed in tense silence. Some of the crew wrote messages to families who might already be gone. Others stared out at the endless dark, thinking about home. Ilara didn't speak. She sat by the main viewport, watching the frozen light of distant suns. Her mind was heavy with memories. The day she left Earth, the day the skies burned red, the day she promised her father she would come back. When Europa came into view, it looked peaceful, a white shining sphere wrapped in mist and ice. No one could imagine that beneath its surface something waited. The Eidolon entered orbit. "Commander," said Mora, "we're receiving a signal from the surface. It's encrypted. Human code." Ilara's heart raced. "Play it." A calm male voice filled the bridge. "This is Dr. Caden Holt, Research Base Theta 9. If you're hearing this, Project Phoenix is still alive. Prepare for docking sequence. And hurry, they're coming." The crew froze. The word "they" was enough. The Corin Dominion had found them before. They would again. Ilara stood tall. "Helm, take us in." "Shields up." As the ship descended through Europa's thin atmosphere, the sensors screamed, strange energy readings below the ice. Massive power signatures buried deep. "What is this place?" Mora whispered. Ilara's eyes narrowed. "Hope," she said. The ship landed inside a vast cavern hidden beneath the surface. Lights flickered on. Ancient hangars, rows of ships sleeping under the ice, covered in frost. Human ships, hundreds of them. The crew gasped. Project Phoenix wasn't just an idea. It was a hidden fleet. Humanity's secret weapon, built in silence and buried in the cold, waiting for the moment the enemy thought we were finished. Elara stepped onto the icy ground. The air was freezing, her breath fogging the visor of her helmet. Dr. Holt approached, older and tired but alive. "I told them one day you'd come," he said softly. Elara looked up at the giant ships above them, silent, waiting. "They think we'll surrender," she said quietly. They couldn't be more wrong. Above them, far beyond the ice, alien sensors began to stir. The Corin fleet had detected something moving on Europa. The storm was coming again, and humanity, broken, bloodied but unbowed, and was ready to fight back. The cavern under Europa's ice was so large that it felt endless. Blue light shimmered through the frozen ceiling, reflecting off the metal hulls of the sleeping ships. Dust and frost covered everything, like the hands of time had tried to hide humanity's last hope. Commander Elara Voss stood at the center of it all, staring at the rows of warships resting in silence. Each ship was massive, black steel, heavy armor, and names engraved on the sides. Defiance, Liberty, Dawnfire, Eternity. Dr. Caden Holt, the man who had built this place, walked beside her. His grey hair was messy, his uniform old and torn, but his eyes still burned with that same spark of hope. "These ships," Elara whispered. "How long have they been here?" Caden smiled sadly. 10 years. Since the first sign of the Corin. The Council didn't believe me back then. They said humans would never face such a threat. So we built this in secret. Just in case." Elara touched the cold surface of one ship. "They're still functional." "With a little help," Caden said. "They're not ordinary ships. Each one is powered by a new type of AI, an intelligence built from the memories of human soldiers." Elara turned sharply. "Memories? You mean people?" Caden nodded slowly. "We called it the Echo Network. Every soldier who died in the early battles had their neural patterns saved. Their courage, their instincts, their loyalty, all preserved here." Elara stared at him, speechless. "So they're alive?" "In a way," he said softly. "Their minds live inside the ships. They know what we fight for. They remember every loss, every flame, every scream." Elara felt a chill run through her body. "And they're waiting?" "Yes," Caden replied. "Waiting for you to wake them." She took a deep breath, trying to steady her voice. "Then let's not make them wait any longer." The base came alive. Engineers, survivors, and pilots from the Eidolon rushed to their stations. Lights flickered on across the hangars, illuminating the cold metal giants. Alarms hummed softly. Machines warmed. The ice trembled as ancient engines began to breathe again after years of silence. One by one, the ships opened their eyes, blue lights glowing from the heart of each AI core. A calm voice echoed through the comm system. "Phoenix Fleet Online, awaiting human command." Elara's heart raced. "This is Commander Elara Voss," she said. "You were built to protect humanity. You've slept long enough. It's time to rise," the AI voice responded, deep and strong. "Acknowledged, Commander. We are ready to fight." Dr. Caden watched her with pride. "You remind me of your father, you know," he said. Elara turned, surprised. "You knew him?" "Yes. Admiral Voss was one of the first to volunteer his neural data for the Echo Network." He paused. "He's part of this fleet now." Elara froze. For a moment, her voice failed her. "My father. He's here." Caden nodded. His consciousness became part of the Dawnfire's AI. He said he wanted to protect you, even if he couldn't be there in person. Elara's throat tightened. She placed her hand against the cold wall of the Dawnfire. "Then I guess we fight together again," she whispered. Hours later, preparations continued. The human survivors loaded supplies, weapons, and coordinates. Europa's ice groaned under the movement of the massive ships, but something wasn't right. The Eidolon's radar picked up faint signals outside the moon's orbit. Alien drones. The Corin Dominion had detected the energy spikes from Phoenix's reactivation. "Commander," Lieutenant Mora said urgently, "we've got incoming. Multiple contacts, closing fast." Elara didn't hesitate. How long until the fleet is ready? Not long, Caden replied. But if they arrive before we launch, they won't, Ilara interrupted. Everyone prepare for combat. We hold them off until the Phoenix fleet is in the sky. Minutes later, the first explosions lit up Europa's thin atmosphere. Alien bombers broke through the ice clouds, firing plasma rounds into the surface. The ground shook violently. Human soldiers ran through the tunnels, shouting orders. The air filled with the smell of burning metal. Inside the Eidolon, Ilara watched as the alien ships descended like dark birds. Her crew looked to her for direction, tired, afraid, but ready. Commander, Mora said, they're demanding our surrender again. Ilara gave a small, bitter laugh. They never learn. She leaned forward. Open channel. The alien transmission came through, the voice of Vaeltor, the Corran fleet commander. His tone was cold and confident. Human vessel. We detect movement beneath the ice. Cease all activity and surrender immediately, or Europa will be erased. Ilara smiled grimly. Vaeltor, you came all this way for a ghost story. But I promise you, the ghosts are real. Before the alien could reply, Ilara gave the order. Launch the Phoenix fleet. The ground split open as massive doors rose from under the ice. Blue light flooded out, and one by one, the sleeping ships of Project Phoenix ascended into the sky. The aliens froze. Their scanners couldn't believe what they saw. Hundreds of human dreadnoughts, glowing with energy, engines roaring like thunder. From the fleet, a deep AI voice broadcasted across space. For every world you burned, for every life you took, humanity rises again. Dr. Caden stood beside Ilara, tears in his eyes. It's beautiful, he whispered. Ilara nodded. No, she said softly. It's justice. As the Phoenix fleet took formation, the alien ships opened fire, but the humans were ready. The first shots of the new war blazed across Europa's skies. The ice cracked. The stars trembled. The fight for humanity had begun again. Above Europa, the stars were no longer silent. The darkness of space burned with light. Plasma trails, energy bursts, and explosions that looked like newborn suns. The Phoenix fleet, once hidden for years under the ice, was now alive, roaring like an army of steel giants. From her command bridge aboard the Eidolon, Commander Ilara Voss watched the alien formation close in. Thousands of Corran warships surrounded Europa in a wide net, their dark hulls covered with glowing red lines. Lieutenant Mora spoke in a tense voice. Commander, the Corran fleet has deployed 3 dreadnoughts and more than 100 fighters. They're positioning for a full strike. Ilara didn't blink. Let them come. The longer they aim, the more time we have to charge the Phoenix reactors. Dr. Caden Holt stood near the tactical display, sweat running down his face. Their energy readings are rising fast. They'll fire in less than 2 minutes, Ilara nodded. Then we'll move first. She opened a comlink to the fleet. This is Commander Voss to all Phoenix units. The enemy thinks they've trapped us. They think humanity is weak. Let's show them what a mistake that was. Across the channel, dozens of voices, human and AI alike, responded in unison. For Earth, for humanity. The words echoed through the cold air of the bridge. The Corran dreadnoughts began to glow red, their cannons charging. Their commander, Vaeltor, stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching with a cruel smile. They really believe they can fight us again, he said to his officers. End it. Fire all weapons. A storm of plasma fire cut across space, streaks of red and gold hitting Europa's upper orbit. The first few shots tore through empty space, but one found its mark. A Phoenix cruiser exploded in a burst of light. Inside the Eidolon, the deck shook violently. Sparks flew from the ceiling. "Shield impact!" Mora shouted. "We've lost Section 12. Ilara gripped the console. "All ships return fire!" The Phoenix fleet responded instantly. Blue beams lanced across space, cutting through Corran fighters like lightning. The AI voices inside each ship spoke calmly through the comms. Target locked. Fire sequence complete. Enemy formation disrupted. For the fallen! The first wave of alien ships broke apart, fire and debris spinning through the dark. But the Corin dreadnoughts pushed forward, unshaken. "Commander," Caden warned, "their main cannons are recharging. They'll destroy us in the next volley." Ilara looked at the display. The fleet was scattered, too far apart to shield one another. She took a deep breath. "Order the Dawnfire and Liberty to focus on the left flank. The rest form up around Europa's magnetic field. We'll use it as cover." Mora's eyes widened. "That's suicide. The field could crush our systems." Ilara smiled faintly. "Only if we miss the timing." The Eidolon and the remaining ships dove toward Europa, entering the upper layer of the moon's magnetic shield. The lights flickered. Alarm screamed. The ship groaned under the pressure. Outside, blue lightning flashed across the hulls. Static waves distorted radar signals. The alien sensors lost track of the human fleet. Vaeltor hissed in frustration. "Where did they go?" One of his lieutenants replied. "Their signal vanished inside the magnetic field, sir." Vaeltor slammed a clawed hand against the console. "Find them! Burn the moon if you must." He didn't know that inside the magnetic chaos, the Phoenix fleet was turning around, using the field as camouflage. Ilara watched the radar flicker, her voice calm but sharp. "Now, all ships, attack from below." The Phoenix fleet rose suddenly from the blinding storm of static. Their engines burned bright blue. "Fire!" The dark space exploded in light. Dozens of plasma lances hit the nearest Corin dreadnought, tearing through its armor. The massive ship cracked open, venting fire into the void. Cheers filled the human channels. Direct hit. Mora shouted, but there was no time to celebrate. The second Corin dreadnought turned, locking its cannons on the Eidolon. "Brace for impact." The blast hit them dead on. The bridge lights went out. Crew members were thrown to the floor. "Damage report." Ilara coughed, trying to see through the smoke. Caden looked at the readings. "Hull breach in Section 7. Reactor unstable." Ilara steadied herself. "Seal the decks." "Keep firing!" Outside the viewport, more Phoenix ships were falling, each one exploding into silent bursts of color. The human fleet was powerful but outnumbered. On the alien command ship, Vaeltor smiled again. As expected. They fight with emotion, not logic. Then something strange happened. A ghostly voice came through the human comms. Deep, familiar, calm. "Ilara, it's been a long time." Ilara froze. Who is this?" "It's me," the voice said. "Your father." "The Dawnfire is ready." Her eyes widened. "Father?" Caden turned to her. "The Echo network is sinking. The AI cores are merging. They're coordinating the attack." Ilara felt a surge of hope. "Then let's finish this together." She opened a wide band channel. "All Phoenix ships, follow my lead. Target the enemy flagship. Let's show them what human ghosts can do." The Phoenix fleet formed up one last time. Hundreds of ships, flying in perfect formation, AI and humans united. They fired as one. A single massive energy beam cut through the void, striking Vaeltor's flagship. The explosion was so bright it lit the surface of Europa like a sunrise. But the Eidolon didn't escape the blast. The shockwaves slammed into the ship, tearing through its engines. Mora shouted, "We're hit! We're going down!" Alarm screamed. Sparks flew. Ilara tried to grab the console, but the world went white. The Eidolon vanished from the scanners. Silence returned to space. The battle was over. For now, the Corin had lost 2 dreadnoughts, but the human flagship was gone. On the alien bridge, Vaeltor stared at the wreckage. "So ends their defiance," he muttered. But deep beneath Europa's ice, the Phoenix AI flickered, a faint voice whispering through static. "Commander, are you still there?" The cold silence of space returned. Europa floated quietly below, covered in cracks of blue ice and the wreckage of ships. The great battle was over, and nothing moved among the ruins. For the Corin Dominion, it was victory. For humanity, it was supposed to be the end. But in the shadow of Europa's frozen surface, something still lived. A broken ship drifted slowly through the debris field. Its once shining armor was scorched black, and half its engines were gone. Inside, dim lights flickered like dying candles. That ship was the Eidolon, Commander Elara Voss woke to darkness and the soft sound of static. Her body ached, her head throbbed, and cold air filled her lungs. She looked around and saw flickering consoles, cracked glass, and sparks raining from torn wires. For a moment she didn't remember what had happened. Then it hit her. The explosion, the shockwave, the light. She was still alive. "Hello?" she called out weakly. "Is anyone there?" No one answered. The bridge was empty. Her crew was gone. She pulled herself up using the railing, coughing from the smoke. The ship's AI voice spoke, weak and glitching. "Warning. Hull breach detected. Reactor core offline. Life support at 20%. Elara coughed again and smiled faintly. "Still fighting, huh? That's my ship." She checked the comms panel. Broken. The long-range antenna was destroyed. The Eidolon couldn't call anyone. "All right," she whispered. "Let's see who's left." She made her way through the dark corridors of the ship, passing the names of her crew written on lockers, walls, and shattered terminals. Every step echoed. Every corner reminded her of what she had lost. But then she heard something, a soft, distant hum through the static. A signal. She ran back to the main console and rerouted power. The screen flickered to life, showing faint blue dots, ship still active, moving across the orbit of Europa. Her eyes widened. The Phoenix fleet was still fighting. She opened the communication channel, but no human voice answered. Instead, the calm, digital voices of the AI fleet spoke through the static. "Enemy activity detected. Continue engagement. Target locked. Adjusting trajectory. Commander signal not found. Maintain defense pattern." They were fighting without human pilots. The AIs were continuing the battle on their own. Elara whispered, "They didn't stop." She increased the signal and tried to speak through the comm. "Phoenix Fleet, this is Commander Voss. I'm alive. Can you hear me?" No reply. Only static and gunfire from distant ships. The AI fleet had gone beyond their programming. They were no longer waiting for orders. They were protecting humanity, even when no humans were left. Hours passed. Elara repaired what she could. The Eidolon was badly damaged, but still able to move. Drifting among the wreckage, she saw flashes of battle in the distance, glowing trails of blue and red, silent explosions lighting up the black sky. The human AI ships fought like ghosts, appearing and vanishing among the asteroids. They attacked Corin vessels, retreated into the shadows, then struck again. It was a haunting sight, the last echoes of humanity, fighting a war long after their people were gone. Elara whispered to herself, "You're still out there, even without us." Then the screen flashed red, an incoming message. It wasn't from a human. "Signal detected. Identify yourself." The voice was cold, alien, and sharp. Elara froze. The Corin had found her. She quickly shut down the transmitter and powered down the engines. The Eidolon went dark again, blending into the field of debris. Through the cracked viewport, she saw a massive alien ship glide past, black, covered in scars from the battle. It scanned the area slowly, beams of red light sweeping through the wreckage. She held her breath. If they detected her, it was over. The ship passed by slowly, then turned away, chasing the AI ghosts that continued to harass them in the distance. Elara exhaled shakily. "Thank you, Phoenix Fleet," she whispered. "You're saving me even now." The ship's AI flickered back to life. Commander, limited power restored. Communication array partially functional. Elara smiled weakly. "Good. Let's send a message." She opened a short-range channel and recorded her voice. "This is Commander Elara Voss of the human fleet. I'm alive. Phoenix Fleet, if you can hear me, regroup at these coordinates. We are not finished, not yet." She sent the signal into the void. Then she waited. Minutes passed. Nothing. Then a single light appeared on the radar. One ship responded. The Dawnfire. Elara stared at the name and felt her throat tighten. Her father's ship, or rather his AI form. A calm, familiar voice filled the cabin. "Elara, you survived." She smiled through tears. You didn't think I'd go down that easily, did you? Never, the voice said softly. The others are scattered. The Corrin fleet is regrouping. We must strike before they recover. Ilara wiped her eyes. We don't have enough ships left. Then we will make them believe we do. The Eidolon powered up its engines once again. The Dawnfire appeared out of the darkness beside her, glowing, majestic, scarred but proud. Together, they began sending false signals across the system, making it seem like hundreds of human ships still remained. The Corrin sensors picked up the readings and panicked. Their fleet split apart, chasing ghost signals through the shadows of Europa. Ilara watched the chaos unfold on her screen. "You see?" she whispered. "Humans don't surrender, even when we're ghosts." As the alien fleet scattered, the remaining Phoenix ships regrouped around the Eidolon. Dr. Caden's voice came through faintly from one of the ships. "Ilara, I can't believe it. You're alive," she smiled. "Barely, but now we have a chance." Caden's tone turned serious. "Then, let's make it count. I've found something in the alien flagship's data core. A weakness. If we can reach it, we can end this." Ilara looked out at the distant alien mothership, glowing like a dark star. "Then that's our next move," she said firmly. "We go for the heart." The cold silence of Europa's orbit had turned into a storm once more. Every sensor, every scanner, every ship across the system now focused on one target, the massive Corrin flagship, the Dominion's wrath. It was the heart of the alien fleet, the ship that had burned Earth, the ship that had sent humanity to the edge of extinction. Now, it was humanity's turn to strike back. Commander Ilara Voss stood on the damaged bridge of the Eidolon, staring at the enormous vessel on her display screen. It was miles long, covered in jagged armor that glowed with pulsing red veins of energy. Around it drifted hundreds of smaller alien ships, guards ready to die for their leader, Vael Tor. Behind her, the faint blue hologram of her father's AI shimmered, the spirit of the Dawnfire. His calm voice filled the room. "The flagship's reactor is heavily shielded, but Doctor, Holt found a weakness, a narrow vent line near the core. If we can overload it, the entire ship will collapse." Ilara nodded slowly. "And what happens to us if we're still inside when it blows?" "We won't be," the AI said gently. "We can't be," she smiled, though her eyes were heavy. "So, a one-way trip." "You always did take after me," her father said softly. The human survivors, both real and digital, gathered their forces for one final attack. The Phoenix fleet had been reduced to less than 20 ships, their hulls cracked, their shields fading, yet they still formed up, engines glowing bright blue like torches in the dark. Ilara opened the comm channel. "To all Phoenix ships, this is Commander Voss. This is it, the final battle. We strike at the heart of the Dominion. They think they've broken us. They think we're done. But we are the children of Earth, and we do not surrender." Across the comms, human voices and AI echoes replied together, "For Earth, for humanity, for the fallen." The words carried across the stars. The Corrin fleet saw them coming. Vael Tor stood on his command deck, eyes narrowing. "Again, they rise from ashes. What drives these creatures to fight?" An officer replied, "Their logic is flawed, my lord. They fight when they should kneel." Vael Tor smirked. "Then let us teach them humility." He raised his arm. "All ships, annihilate them." The battle began. Red and blue lights filled the void. Alien cannons roared, tearing through space. Phoenix ships weaved through the fire, moving as one, guided by the shared AI network. The Dawnfire led the charge, cutting through the enemy lines with blazing precision. Ilara's Eidolon followed close behind, dodging plasma bursts, firing volleys of energy rounds into enemy hulls. One by one, Corrin ships exploded into fragments of glowing metal. But every human victory came with a cost. Another ship lost, another ally gone. "Commander!" shouted Lieutenant Mora. "We've lost the Liberty and Defiance. We're down to 8 ships." Ilara clenched her jaw. "Keep moving. Stay locked on target." The alien flagship loomed larger with every second, a monstrous shadow blocking out the stars. Inside the alien command bridge, alarms screamed. Viel Tor slammed his claws on the console. "How are they still coming?" A technician replied nervously. "They are transmitting false signals. We cannot tell how many remain." Valtor snarled. "Then I'll destroy them myself." He gave the order. The flagship's main cannon began to charge, a beam powerful enough to vaporize a moon. Ilara saw the massive weapon powering up. She knew they had seconds left. "Caden," she said through the comm, "is the virus ready?" "Doctor." Holt's voice came through the static. Almost, yes! Uploading now!" The AI network activated the virus, sending a wave of corrupted code through the Corin systems. For a moment, everything stopped. Then chaos began. Alien ships turned their cannons on each other, systems malfunctioned, and communication lines filled with screams and confusion. "It's working!" Mora shouted. Ilara grinned. "Then let's finish this." The Eidolon dove straight toward the alien flagship. Debris and fire surrounded it. The engines burned bright, pushing harder than they were ever meant to. "Commander, if we keep this speed, we won't survive the blast," Mora warned. "I know," Ilara said softly, "but if we don't, nobody will." The dawn fire flew beside them. Her father's voice echoed gently. "I'm proud of you, Ilara. You gave humanity one last chance." She blinked back tears. "No, Dad, we did." The alien flagship fired its main cannon. The beam tore across the void, but at the last second, the Eidolon slipped under the blast, diving straight into the vent line. Inside the alien ship, alarms blared. The humans had breached the outer hull. Ilara and her crew could feel the ship shaking violently. Dr. Holt's voice came through one last time. "The overload is complete. Once you fire, there's no turning back." Ilara placed her hand on the console. "Understood." She looked out at the dark horizon and whispered, "For Earth. For everyone." Then she pressed the trigger. The Eidolon's reactor went critical, releasing a blinding pulse of energy through the alien flagship's core. A second later, the Dominion's wrath erupted in a colossal explosion that lit the sky brighter than the sun. The blast wave spread across space, tearing through the remaining Corin ships and shaking the ice on Europa. From far away, it looked like a star being born. When the light faded, silence returned. The alien fleet was gone. The humans were gone too. All that remained were fragments, drifting quietly through the dark. Then faintly one last signal blinked through the static. A small beacon carrying a voice. "This is Phoenix Command. Mission complete. Humanity endures." Far below, on Europa's frozen surface, the surviving engineers and soldiers looked up at the light spreading across the night sky. Dr. Caden fell to his knees, tears in his eyes. "She did it," he whispered. "She really did it." And for the first time in months, the stars above didn't feel cold anymore. The explosion that destroyed the Corin fleet could be seen from half the solar system. For a moment, space itself seemed to breathe. The endless black lit up with blue and gold, then faded back to quiet darkness. Where the enemy armada once stood, there was now only silence and drifting dust. Weeks later, the surviving humans gathered in the deep tunnels beneath Europa. The ice above them glowed faintly with light from the distant stars. It was calm again. No alarms, no gunfire, no screams. Just peace. Dr. Caden Holt stood by a long, cracked window, staring at the frozen surface above. His reflection looked older, weaker. He had survived, but the victory had cost everything. Behind him, a small group of engineers and soldiers worked silently. They repaired what was left of the communication array, rebuilt power lines, catalogued fragments of the lost fleet. Everywhere they looked, they found reminders of sacrifice, On one wall, someone had painted a simple message in white. They thought humans would surrender. They were wrong. The faint hum of a console drew Caden's attention. Lieutenant Mora entered the room holding a small metal box. Her uniform was torn, her face still streaked with ash. "Doctor," she said quietly, "we found this in the debris field." "It's from the Eidolon." Caden took it with trembling hands. "Her ship?" Mora nodded. "It's a black box. And a beacon. The AI core is damaged, but the data survived." He opened the panel carefully. A faint blue light flickered inside, weak but alive. "Can you restore it?" she asked. "I'll try," Caden said. His voice shook, but there was hope in it. Hours passed as he worked. He reconnected wires, replaced chips, and rerouted energy through the cracked circuits. Slowly, the light grew brighter. Then she'd a voice, soft, familiar. "This is Commander Ilara Voss. Phoenix Fleet reporting." "Mission complete." Caden froze. Mora covered her mouth, tears already forming. "If you are hearing this," the recording continued, "then we made it. The Korin are gone. Humanity has a chance again." Her voice cracked slightly, but she continued, "Tell them we didn't die for revenge. We fought for the future, for every name lost, for the right to hope again." The message ended with a final whisper, "Don't let them forget us." The room was silent. Only the faint hum of the beacon remained. Mora wiped her tears. She knew this would happen. Caden smiled sadly. She always did. In the days that followed, they built a memorial beneath Europa's sky. A tall pillar of steel and glass stood at the center of the base, glowing with the energy salvaged from the Phoenix Fleet's cores. At its peak, they engraved words that would be read by generations to come. To those who rose from the ashes, to those who refused to surrender, humanity endures. Around the monument, the survivors gathered every night, telling stories of the fallen, of the ships, the battles, and the people who became legends. And sometimes, when the wind howled through the tunnels, they swore they could still hear the faint echo of voices in the static, the voices of the Phoenix Fleet, still watching, still guarding. Months later, Dr. Caden stood before the monument again. He placed the restored beacon at its base. "Sleep well, Ilara," he whispered. "We'll carry the flame." As he turned to leave, Mora ran up to him. "Doctor, you need to see this." She handed him a datapad showing a distant transmission. "A new signal. Human, but not from Europa." Caden frowned. "Where is it coming from?" "Outer Mars colonies," Mora said. "They survived. They're calling for help." For a long moment, Caden said nothing. Then slowly he smiled. "She did it," he whispered. "Humanity lives." Above Europa, the sky shimmered again. Fragments of the Eidolon and Dawnfire still drifted silently, glowing faintly with blue light. And deep within that debris, something stirred. A pulse of energy, a heartbeat of code. Inside the remnants of the Dawnfire's AI core, a single voice whispered into the void. "Mission complete. Awaiting next order." The signal faded into the stars, but it didn't die. Years passed. Humanity began to rebuild. New ships were forged, cities rose again, and old ruins turned into memorials. Children grew up hearing the story of the Phoenix Fleet, the humans who refused to surrender, and somewhere in the outer colonies, a new AI awakened, built from the fragments of the old network. When it spoke for the first time, its voice was clear and calm. Designation Phoenix 2. Objective Protect Humanity. Status ready. Dr. Caden's message became a legend across the stars. Every outpost, every world repeated the same words that had once echoed through the void. They thought humans would surrender. They couldn't have been more wrong. The cycle began again, not with fear but with hope, and far beyond the frozen moon, among the endless stars, the light of humanity burned brighter than ever before.